Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming and joining the session. And today's event will talk about Data Cloud. So the main agenda, the main topics that we'll be covering is what is Data Cloud, why Data Cloud, why all of a sudden so much hype about Data Cloud. We'll give you a hands-on demonstration how that's being used, and obviously it will be followed by Q&A session. So the whole purpose of this session is we are building a community of experts like you, experts like us, so we can help each other grow. This is a bit about us. We are part of a 2Creative solutions family. We are expert in, if you talk about Salesforce, particularly we talk about Revenue Cloud, RLM, CPQ, Salesforce Industries. So if you're struggling with any component of Salesforce industry, let's say Omni Studios, Omni Scripts, right? So we are the expert in that. Data Cloud, which we adapted from almost 2 years. Agentforce is the next hype that we are working on. Obviously, our team is experts. We are helping all our partners. We are also partners with Salesforce doing implementations with all our clients. So let's move on. So why all of a sudden so much focus on data? So why, even if this is compared to that, data is the new oil. So what happened during the oil when the oil was too much hyped up? So it was raw oil, but the problem was how to process that oil. So we need to set up refineries to make it more valuable. Similarly, everything around us is a data. So we have so much data. For example, if you take any client, if you take yourself also, you are using more than 1,000 apps. This means so much data around the world, but that data is just a raw. So we need to clean, make it more meaningful. That's why it is even compared to oil, and it's a main industry right now which is empowering and basically powering the engine of what AI decision making for the companies, spending, marketing, everything is dependent on this. So what oil was to the 20th century of industry era, we are like data is basically what is AI driven 21st century. So data is very important. So even for our career perspective, everything will be driven on data. So that's why we are here. That's why Salesforce came with the Data Cloud to understand the basics of Salesforce Data Cloud. What is exactly this? Now Salesforce run on three pillars. One is the CRM part. That's what we already know about Salesforce. Then we have the AI part. Like everyone talks about AI after the evolution of ChatGPT. We have Agentforce, but where the Agentforce is going to run off, they need some information. That's where the Data Cloud comes into picture. So as of now, Data Cloud is basically a heart of Salesforce on which all the cloud, basically all the CRM system running in, and it's all integrated in the Salesforce platform. So what that means is Data Cloud is not external to any other system. It is part of the Salesforce ecosystem. Also, it is basically making it as zero copy fundamental, that it's not copying any information to Salesforce. It is directly linking to all the third-party API, third-party data, third-party unstructured data, business apps, and making it more meaningful. That's just a gist of it, just giving you overall of what is Salesforce Data Cloud. So this means we have data across all the platform. It might be Facebook, Google, AWS, LinkedIn, wherever, all the latest platform. It is ingested. Basically, it's being streamed into the Salesforce, and then some insights are driven. So I just go brief about it, how the infrastructure of the Data Cloud looks like. So basically, you have your Salesforce Cloud org. Basically, the Salesforce is having some data. That's one use case. We have external data sources. For example, your data lakes like AWS. You have your Azure, the cloud, or maybe even your phone, right? It's like even all the messages or your TikTok, YouTube. It's all data that is being spread everywhere. But we need some sort of a platform, some sort of a systems to connect those data coming from more than 1,000 plus sources and give it a more meaningful structure, which is called harmonizing and ingesting that data. Where this is where the Data Cloud comes into picture. So this is what the overall structure of a Data Cloud, where it takes the data from all the apps, AWS, APIs. Even we use MuleSoft to connect to those APIs. We harmonize it, make it more meaningful, transform it. It's like ETL, and resolve all the data identifiers and make that data as a real time, which can be used by Salesforce CRM like Sales Cloud. It can be Service Cloud, and then overall we can have Agentforce running on that, which creates a 360 view of a client, because that's very important. Until unless you don't have that meaningful data, you won't get those meaningful incentives going for the clients. Live examples, we are working with one of the banking client in Canada, where they have their personal banking information coming from the clients. They have their messages information coming from the client, their home loans, their savings. All their information flows into a Salesforce ecosystem, where the Data Cloud is what is being used to get all that information into the Salesforce. And then we have a marketing cloud running above that, because for example, some of the clients, they've just recently got their PR. Now they have some savings sitting on the scene. This means they are future clients for a mortgage, for a loan, for a car loan. Now we can have a marketing campaigns running based on that. So that was a live example. That's why I'm telling you that how this is the business use case for that. So the goal is overall to summarize, we have raw data, we need to have a relevant data so we can make some actions faster. connectors. We need that 360 view of a client. We have a real data, so we can have a real actions being done. It is a segmentation, like this data is divided into different segments, and then we can make those smart decisions based on AI. So the goal is Data Cloud is basically a system that this is how it works. It takes the data from all the CRM system. Obviously, we'll follow. I know I've been talking so much theory. After that, we'll have a demo coming, which is in the next 5 minutes. So this is where we need all those connectors, third-party connectors. Basically, we need to connect those data because AWS data is different. It is WhatsApp data is different. Your PDF data is different. That's unstructured. We need all those connectors. There are more than 200 connectors which are pre-built in Salesforce, pre-built in Data Cloud, and then we make it more harmonized, putting those data coming into forms of data models. Data mapping is being done. We'll have a live example coming on that, and then we have a 360 view of the data, and then based on that 360 view, the information that we have, we do all that actions. It might be calculated insights where the marketing should go, right? What is the next step that we should go? All the AI, the analytics happening on that. So now we are here for our demo. We are ready, obviously, with the blessings of demo god. Most of the demos fail. That's what we've seen our live environment. So we have Gorang with us. He'll share the screen.
Thank you, Mandeep. So yeah, in this example, in this live demo, what we're gonna try to do is we have this Excel sheet, a Google sheet, and we have this data there. We're trying to load this data into our Data Cloud environment using all the tools that Data Cloud gives us, right? So that's the end goal. That's what we're gonna do, get this external data into Data Cloud and then see how we can do that. Okay, so to start with, there are three main components of Data Cloud that I used: data streams, data lake, and data model object. Okay, so let's start by looking at data streams. Data streams is like a connector that connects the external data source to Data Cloud. It creates a stream between the external data source and Data Cloud and makes the data flow from the external system to Data Cloud. And the data lake object is like the middle layer. Let's say that it's like a middle layer, which it's basically the raw data that comes from the data streams before it goes into data model. So data lake object has all the raw data that comes in from the external system. It stays there. We do the mapping, and then once we do the mapping, it moves into data model object. All right, so let's jump in. So to start with, if you want to connect to an external system, assuming that all of us have our Data Cloud org set up, we go into feature manager, and that's what's open here, and then we go into connectors and then enable that connector. So this is going to enable all the connectors that we have, like 200 plus connector as we mentioned, to connect to external data source. And next we go and create a new connector. There's an option on the Data Cloud other connectors. Go there and then you can create a new connector. So we're going to use Google Drive for this example. So we have that Google sheet that I showed is in the Google Drive, so we're going to use that. So yeah, we're going to use Google Drive as the connector. Let's call it any connection name Google Drive in our case. And here in the credential, we're going to use the auth provider. We already have an auth provider, Google Drive's Data Cloud auth provider. We're going to use that. And then when we click auth, it's going to bring us to the screen here. Log into my Google.
So Gorang is doing on the other screen, basically fulfilling the credentials for connecting that to Google Drive.
Let's test the connection. Okay, yeah, the connection was successful. So now I have this connector set up to connect to my Google Drive sheet. So we have that connector set up. Now we'll move back to our Data Cloud app. Here, when we go back to our Data Cloud, we'll go into data streams. Under data streams, we'll create a new data stream. Right? And now we see the option Google Drive. So we're going to connect that. We're going to use that as our connector. And now we need the link. Just use this link. It's an Excel sheet. That's it. And the next step, we have some more configurations. Okay, now here in this step, we see there's a new data stream. So we have options like categories. What is the category of the data that's coming in, right? In our case, if you see this data is of company data. So this company name, location, industry, and counted year, like any raw data, right? So this would be of what type, what is the category of this data? There are three options, right? One is the profile. The profile category represents an individual, account, or other profile. The data is used for segmentation and analytics. And then there is an engagement. The engagement category contains behavioral information. Each record captures a distinct action such as click or purchase taken at a specific time. So in our case, because this is like company data, this is going to be a profile category, because this is like it's identifying an individual company, because it's a profile category. But if it was some other data, like let's say order state, like a table of order records, when was the order placed, or when was it returned, or any of that information, that would be an engagement data, because that's more like an action performed by a user on an object, right? And then there would be a timestamp which is more relevant in that data. which we can use. So we'll see that in the next example. For now, we're just going to use the profile category, and the primary key is our company ID here. Next. Okay, on this step, we have refresh modes. What are our refresh modes? Either we do an upsert or a full refresh. We're just going to choose upsert because it's the first time we are loading data into Data Cloud. But if it was existing data and we want to delete the older data and just get the new data that's coming in, we'd use the full refresh option. Out of that, and here, okay, the frequency. So this is another option. So it's this option will let us select what is the frequency of the data that will be refreshed in Data Cloud. So we have from hourly to monthly. So if we select hourly, it's gonna now every hour it's gonna go look for the data source, see if there's any updates on the data source, and pick that up and update that in our data stream. And then we have another option to select a data stream immediately. So it would just pick this, it would pull data immediately from the data source. So now we have our data stream created. We're gonna wait for it to get active. Okay, now it's active. And now when we go to data lake objects, we'll see a data lake object automatically gets created when we create a data stream. As I mentioned earlier, data lake objects are like the raw data that comes in from the data stream. They're unmapped raw. We don't know what they are. What does this mean? So all of this is just raw data. Okay, and now we have an option here for data mapping. We could map this data lake object into a data model object. So for that, we need to map it. So we're gonna start the mapping here. So here we see we have the 5 fields, 5 columns that are here in this sheet. Okay, so this is a primary key, company name, founder year, industry, and location. So we're gonna select an object from here. This can take a while, so let's just wait. Yeah, it's a bit slow. It's trying to pull in all the data, like all the possible objects from the org. Okay, here we go. It's loaded. Now we want to map this contact to an account object in our org. That's the most relevant object that we have. So we're going to use account object, which is out of the box account in Salesforce, like we know. Okay, so we already see these 3 got mapped directly because I had these custom fields already created in the account object in my org. Okay, so now we have unmapped. So you'd see first thing first, we just connect our primary key to the primary key account ID, and then company name to account name. We have pretty much done all the mapping. There's another mapping that we need to do is the individual ID, right? So we need to map our company ID to our individual ID. So this individual ID is what's going to be used for unification, which we are going to see in the future in Data Cloud. So basically, if I just tell you in brief, what it means is like let's say we have 3 different data sources. One is online store, in-store, and maybe another online platform where the data is coming in from. So now if the same user has 3 different emails used in 3 different places or 3 different variations of their name, where if in data source 1 the name was Rodriguez and then data source 2 the name was R.Rodriguez, now they are the same person, but we need to unify them and bring them into one big category. So that's where this individual field is used, right? So yeah, we'll see that in, like, it might be confusing right now, but we'll see this in detail. Okay, so this mapping is done. We're gonna click save. Mappings are created. Now when we go back to the data model or here, you should see that, yep, you see the account object was created. The data model object was created here. Let's wait for it to load. Okay, there we go. And then the data explorer, we should be able to see our data model object here. Okay, we don't see the data come in here yet. That is because sometimes it takes a while for the data to come in. So you see the 0 records yet came in from the data source. This can take some while, but I promise you the data will come in. Okay, in the meantime, we can see this option here. We see there's an option to refresh this data stream. So when we do a refresh, what's gonna happen is it's gonna start bringing in the updated data right away. Like you saw when we're creating the data stream, there was a schedule, like we could select the frequency when the data would come in. Instead, if you don't want to wait for that 1 hour for the most updated data, we could just go and refresh it here directly, and now it's gonna go bring in the most updated data right away. Wait for the data to flow in. Yep, there we go. So all that records that were in the sheet are now in our Data Cloud data model object.
That was a very valuable demo. Obviously, we have so many other steps to go through. Once we can have, now the whole purpose was to create a data stream, just to revise that thing, and bring the data from third-party source, which was in a Google Drive here. We can have different streams of data. It can be like PDF, unstructured data. It can be messages. It can be AWS. Once it is here, the mapping is done. Obviously, the mapping structure will come from the business overall, and then the modeling is done. The data is there. A live stream is established. Now you can take the actions on that data. As I mentioned before, if I just go back to this picture, right? So now you can get some value out of it. It was our Google Drive here. We did the connection part with this. Now the Data Cloud is is there. So we have a real-time access to that information. Now we can have our sales, surveys, or marketing cloud or commerce analytics running on that. So this was the a part that we were covering here in our first video about data cloud. Obviously, we need your feedback. Come up with all your scenarios, the issues that you are facing. Most welcome to share your comments, and also we'll post this video on YouTube. So we need your support also there. So please, what are the issues you are facing? We can build that community of experts. That is where we need your support. We'd love you to follow our YouTube channel. That's already there. You just need to scan this QR code. And also we are publishing a lot of information on our LinkedIn channel also. So your support is required because we are building a community of experts like you, like me, like everyone. So we can help each other in a Salesforce ecosystem. Thank you for tuning on for this video. And obviously we'll have more sessions coming on Salesforce. What is the latest trends happening? And your feedback is important again. Thank you. Thanks for everyone for joining in.